Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. It's Tuesday, the patch notes have been posted, and that means it's time for the top 5 changes of patch 11.22. As always, I'll be going through the biggest changes in this week's patch, and letting you guys know what you can be looking forward to in the coming weeks. 11.22 is a fairly small patch, all things considered. This is sort of a holdover patch until we hit preseason proper. We're already kind of gearing up for it, as the ranked season will be ending actually within 2 weeks. So if you guys are still grinding up your ranks, make sure you get all of that done before too long, and the season actually ends and leaves you out in the cold and out of gold. Going on to the patch notes here, like I said, there isn't a lot here that are super impactful changes. These are all kind of very small, but there are some things here, especially in terms of the professionally viable champions that have been changed here. But we're going to go ahead and talk about Vi here real quick with the number 5 change on this week's patch. Now, as an older champion, Vi has had some really wonky math and really weird coding on her abilities, so it makes sense for Riot to go through and give her a bit of a quality of life pass on her abilities. Q getting a slightly stronger knockback and being more likely to go through a wall makes Vi more reliable, especially in terms of her mobility, and as does her R's knockup duration being normalized. That's right, her knockup used to have a random duration, so now that it always has the same amount of time every time, it should make Vi feel a lot more fluid to play and a lot more consistent. As an aside, Vi's E and R have both been renamed on this patch. E is now Relentless Force and R is now Cease and Desist. I don't know why Riot made the change, but sure, why not? I guess Vi is up for changes, so may as well change around the ability names as well. Moving on to our number 4 change here, it's going to be the Kiana changes. Now, Kiana is too strong in elite play, but weak in average play, so what Riot are doing is moving around a lot of her power to make her more accessible as a average player, but less accessible as an elite player. So the changes here give Kiana more level-based power while removing some of her item-based power. That is essentially elite speak for the base damages on her abilities have gone up while the scalings have gone down. So Kiana is more rewarded for getting levels versus items, which is something that definitely targets average play rather than elite play, because elite players are more likely to have gold and therefore be able to buy their powerful items. Her base health going down by 70 is a huge nerf, make no mistake, but she does get more than enough compensation with the health growth buffs, which actually makes her a fair bit tankier later in the game than she is on live right now. Overall, this means that Kiana should feel much better to play if she's in average hands, but will suffer a slight tap down in elite play. Moving on down to our number 3 change are the Yumi nerfs. Now, Yumi has had a resurgence at Worlds this year with a lot of players sort of realizing, oh, this champion is still really good and has a lot of advantages that we're able to actually make sense of. And so because of that, Yumi is getting herself tapped down again. The nerfs to Yumi's movement speed and heal will make Yumi's healing contributions lower, and her heal is her least interactive value to the team, besides the W steroid she gets, but that's sort of beyond the point, while unaffecting her playmaking potential with Final Chapter and Prowling Projectile. So I do like this targeted nerf. I do think it makes Yumi just worse as a buff bot, and it means that Yumi still has to be able to find value with her ultimate and her Q in order to actually be a relevant champion. So big fan of these nerfs. We'll see if it's enough to get her ban rate down. I know whenever Yumi's popular, people just decide they no longer want to play against that champion ever, so we'll see if she does end up coming back at some point. Moving on up to our number 2 change, it is the Kane buffs. I actually think these are some pretty effective changes for Red Kane in particular. So if you are a Shadow Assassin Kane player, these changes will not affect you in the slightest. But if you are a Rost player, shall we say, you're going to really like these changes. The Q and R have both had their physical damage increased, and especially because the percentage damage has increased, it means that overall these abilities will deal a lot more damage to the sort of frontline fighters that Kane really wants to be brawling with, and generally make him feel a lot better to play, especially once Goredrinker took the nerfs on the last patch. I think these changes were much deserved, and they will do a lot to make Kane feel a little bit better to play. Finally, going on down to Goredrinker itself, Riot massively overshot on the nerfs on the last patch. Goredrinker has been in kind of a terrible spot, and with a lot of fighters sort of depending on Goredrinker to help them in a new item shop metagame where there's a lot more damage available, it kind of makes sense for Goredrinker to need some buffs to make it a little bit more attractive to fighters. The changes here generally do favor fighters, but the item overall is more attractive as long as you like the stat package and the active heal. So in that regard, if you are an assassin who's still buying Goredrinker, you're still going to get a lot of value out of this item, but generally speaking, it's going to be more attractive for fighters overall. And that is going to be it for me today, guys. Those are the top 5 changes of patch 11.22. Like I said, there's not that much here, but it's because everything is going to be changing with preseason anyway. So I'm glad for these changes. They're going to make the last couple weeks of the season a little bit better to deal with, but they're not going to be that impactful compared to what we've got coming. But let me know which changes you're most excited for down in the comments section below. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave it a like. And if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days like today as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all later.